I'm here we are to convene our meeting of the Sonoma County Transportation Climate Authority Climate Action Advisory Committee. I'm Tom Conlon, your chair, and Jake McKenzie to my left here, vice chair. I'm going to ask everyone to go around and introduce themselves in their role with respect to this organization. Jake?
Hi, Jake McKenzie, not representing the city of Rohnert Park, representing the second supervisorial district.
I'm Stephanie Turk. I'm one of two representing City of Healdsburg at today's meeting, and just want to apologize in advance. I have to leave a little early today.
Hi there, I'm Emily Virgil, 2 of 2, representing Healdsburg.
Hi, Nick Thayer, representing the 5th District of Sonoma County.
Tyler Sylvie, representing the 3rd District of Sonoma County.
Neil Hancock, representing Cotati.
Christopher Beck Windsor. I also have to leave right at 1 o'clock.
And I'm Tom Conlon, representing the second half of District 3. With apologies from last time, I actually did run the meeting a little late last time. So we'll try to keep it to our normal, I guess, not past 1 o'clock. Do we have any comment? Oh, and I'll let Shirley introduce herself as well before we move into public comment. We're done with introductions.
Just name and face.
Shirley Johnson. Testing 1, 2, 3. Push that button. Push that button. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay. Shirley Johnson, Rohnert Park.
Great. And I don't see anyone participating online as a member of the committee, but now we'll open it to public comment. If anyone from the public wants to make a comment in the room, if not, online. If not, close public comment and move right along to the approval of our May 9th meeting notes. And this is an action item. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes before we I entertain a motion to approve?
Move approval of the minutes.
I'm sorry, we do have a quorum. In fact, under our new rules, we do have a quorum today. Thank you. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Jake. Without further ado, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? 1 abstention from Tyler. Thank you. Now on to attendance requirements. This is an action item. And Ross, do you want to go ahead and lead us in this? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And before I jump into these, just very briefly, I am behind on the nomination process for this meeting, so I will be reaching out before the next meeting just to make sure we're all set membership wise, but I apologize for that delay. So during the May CAAC meeting, there were some comments regarding attendance requirements for the chair and vice chair position. In response to that, we'd like to propose that the CAAC chair and vice chair be required to miss no more than 2 meetings per year. This requirement would be added to the CAAC charter during the next update. We'd like to invite discussion from the committee on this, but asking members to keep in mind that this is an all-volunteer committee and we appreciate everyone's time and effort to attend the meeting. So we're proposing that, but wanted to get discussion on the item.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Excuse my ignorance, but what is the requirement for the regular folk?
3.
Sure. Okay.
3 meetings, yeah.
My question had to do with 2 per year. Is that calendar year or is it in a rolling some.
I would say overall. Yeah, so per calendar year.
So if you, looking backward in time, the previous, what we meet bi-monthly, so 6 times a year. If you've missed any 2 of the last 6 meetings, then you're in violation of our chair, vice chair minimum
Right.
expectation, in which case then I guess it comes before the next meeting to entertain a motion to replace that position. Is that
That-
basically how we expect it to work?
Yes, although we don't want to go retroactive on that. We want to do this moving forward.
Rolling for it. Understood. Thank you for that clarification. Important. Any further discussion? Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so what about excused absences?
I think even for this position, I'm not sure if we discussed that, Tanya, but the theory would be regardless for those positions.
Tyler?
Can I ask what was the reasoning for this being brought up? Sorry, I missed the last meeting. My first one I've missed. But what was the reasoning behind it and what problem are we trying to
It
solve?
was really just a gotcha for you, Tyler. No, it comes down to the desire to see active participation and kind of momentum and leadership in this committee. And so attendance is considered to be basically a minimum expectation, particularly in these leadership roles of chair and vice chair. So I think it's very, a positive thing moving forward. We'd like to encourage it and just set that norm expectation for the committee. I don't foresee any problem for myself or the vice chair. And I also think that in the situation that might be an excused absence, that kind of thing could be taken into consideration by the committee as to whether to terminate their position or not. That's what there's no, you miss 2 meetings in a row because of an excused absence. The trap door falls up underneath you and, you end up having to go work in a power plant or something.
But the idea would be that you wouldn't be removed from the committee, but just the leadership role
Exactly.
until you miss the 3rd or something.
Well, yeah, and the committee, what happened, the previous rules were basically more about achieving a quorum. So it was, and we kind of changed the setup for CAAC. Essentially, 3 unexcused absences would trigger a vacancy, essentially. And then that vacancy would be removed from the quorum number. However, since we've changed it to the quorum being achieved by jurisdiction, essentially, that number is a lot lower, and that seems to be working. We haven't had as many committees of the whole as a result. So that was kind of the original intent of the vacancy. And I know for our other committees, CAC, we use that as well.
Thank you.
Very well. So this is an action item. And so, Jake, do you have something?
I'd move approval of 3.2 CAC attendance requirements. I so move.
I'll second.
Very well. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? Thank you. Measure passes. Thank you. And now we'll move on to our report outs from jurisdictions. Who?
Mr. Chair, before you move on,
Please.
I think in the discussion, it is clear that this is not been applied retroactively.
That was stated before, but thank you for bringing it
Yeah,
back up.
okay.
Because it is. And the other thing that we'll want to take note of is the attendance record keeping. Sometimes folks trickle in a little late. I've been known to do that. And so let's just make sure that attendance in person does mean at any time in the meeting. If there's a concern about that, if people are missing, coming and just tagging the base and being here for 5 minutes. Well, maybe we'll discuss it again in the future, but shouldn't be a problem. Thank you very much. Now to report outs from jurisdictions. Shall we? Jake, want to go?
My report out is that I really like to have name tags. There's a large number of us on this committee, and we're not all as familiar with one another as we might be. And so I seem to recollect that on SCTA, Citizens Advisory Committee, there were name tags, and so.
Name tags would be great. I mean, you may have noticed me stumbling there. I wanted to go to Christopher here, and I know Christopher well over many years, and I just don't have your name stored.
I'm deeply offended.
You should be, you should be. All right, any further,
I don't have anything to report from the second district, no.
how about you, Shirley?
Nope, I was on vacation for 2 weeks, so I still have vacation brain. I don't have anything to
Wonderful.
report today.
What I have for my next act, what I have to report is about a week ago, Andy Schrader and I were part of a little delegation that Petaluma sent to Denver to a National Civic League gathering. Petaluma submitted an application to the National Civic League for the All-America City designation, and Petaluma was one of 20 finalists. So we and a bunch of other people, including our city manager and mayor and climate action manager, went to this gathering, and it was really interesting, inspirational, informative. And one of the things I took away from it was that of the 20 cities there, Petaluma is just head and shoulders above all the others in that. I mean, we're not, there are lots of areas for improvement, but we are taking our climate commitment more seriously than any other city represented there. So there's lots more I could say about that, but that's the short update.
Well, so it's both encouraging as well as we always want to be overwhelmed by someone else doing even more. So thank you for your
Exactly.
service there.
There were judges, a panel of 8 judges who were voting on the main criterion of community engagement in service of environmental sustainability. And we had the priorities a little bit different. We ranked our sustainability climate goals more highly. So there's a lot more that we need to be doing in the realm of community engagement. So we were not among the finalists. We were just finalists. Yeah.
Stephanie?
So Emily and I will share the report out from Healdsburg. I just wanted to I wanted to talk about a project we started 2 years ago around this time, the Idle Free Schools project. I think I told you all that we were starting to do this in Healdsburg. It started in the schools. We tried to get a representative in every one of our local schools. So that's all of the public schools and the HUSD, plus the many private schools that we have and the smaller schools in the Valley, to be a champion for this, to getting the message out to parents to turn off your engines. I have visuals. Turn off the engine when you're picking up the students. So this creates a pollution hotspot around the schools. We had sort of, I would say, limited success over the 2 years. We got signs posted in front of the HUSD schools. So there's 2 elementary schools and the junior high. High school did not opt to put the signs up, I think because they're not having that kind of pickup line situation. And then even with the signs installed, we still had to do a lot of outreach and engagement. So from putting this in the newsletter to doing a thank you event where we went and handed out cookies and said, thank you for not idling. Oh, pass one of these, please. Take one and pass. So giving out these water bottle stickers, turn off your key. So a lot of reminders. And to be honest, I still see people idling at those schools with the signs posted. So there's a lot more that needs to be done. We were successful in getting a grant from the Regional Air Protection Authority for purchasing some of these items. And we're gonna basically just keep on trying to do more. We did not have as much success in the schools that didn't have the signs posted. And we're trying, I mean, it's like some of them are private property, some of them are on city streets. So there's just like a lot of ways to go about doing this, but we think it's really important. Another thing that we learned while doing this at schools is that I only have a few of these so you can share, that it's actually illegal in the city of Healdsburg to keep your engine idling. We have an ordinance already passed on the books, but people don't seem to care about that. And also there's really not going to be any enforcement for that. We've been working closely with the police chief on that, and it doesn't pan out to actually ticket people to do this because it costs more to give someone a ticket than the amount that you'll receive in the ticket for the city. So he did help us in making these cards that we can give out to people who are idling in the community. And it's just like a really ongoing thing. So I guess why I thought I would present it to you guys today in this kind of brief version is because school's about to start again. So if anyone wants some information on how we got started in the schools, I can share that. We use the EPA toolkit that's available online. And it's good to kind of start in the fall and go through the spring. And also to just see if there was any interest in the SCTCA board and maybe like doing more of a presentation on how we can get this to be more of a county-wide initiative. Because I think it's like kind of a low-hanging fruit in terms of reducing emissions and helping just people breathe better. So mixed results, but it's still happening. So thank you.
Great, Emily. Thanks for bringing that.
Yeah, and one last update from Healdsburg. We're looking into hosting an event called Sunday. It's a day of action
Solar power.
about solar power. It's Sunday, September 21st. If any of y'all are interested, we can share the information about it, but it's a fairly new event, kind of focused primarily on solar.
Thank you. Nick?
Yeah, I don't have anything either.
Nothing on my end.
Well, I can report that Katati has finished its bike path to the school, Thomas Page Academy. And so that's been an ongoing event, and partly there's a lot of vehicles that come in there. And there has even been in the past, it was very sad, but one parent got killed on the Highway 116. So the hope is that there will be it's a safer route for people to be able to go from essentially City Hall under a bike tunnel and then along a bike path, separate bike path, so walking path really rather than a bike path that's done in a low impact, compacted gravel arrangement. So anyway, it's nice to see that completed. It's been a long process.
Hi, I don't have anything to report today.
And Chris?
So my big news is, you probably know, the SMART train is now finally actually for real as of the last month coming to Windsor. And yeah, that was a huge, that took so long. I was reflecting on having Mike McGuire in our house, and I think that was in 2010, as part of the promotion for, getting people to get on board with the idea of the SMART train. So that's a long time. The other thing that's really neat, I just saw yesterday, is that the Windsor has a big on the town green Thursday evening event, and the SMART train is now running. I think it's 8:21, leaving the Windsor Depot all the way to, only to Petaluma. I don't think it goes past that. So if you want to come up to Windsor, spend a lot of money out of many of our many excellent restaurants on the town green and enjoy music, you can get on the train on the way home. We'll ride the train up, obviously, but then also does a late run. So I look forward to doing that when SMART comes to Gringo. Yeah. I think a Spur is playing any day now. Only a few more years.
And the other piece of good news about that is the funding to go to Hillsburg for
It's been
the
secured.
smart system, which has been a long time coming, but I think there's now a schedule to rebuild the bridge and go to downtown Hillsburg.
Will Healdsburg work ahead of time on the quiet zone so they don't have to cancel the train?
Well, all the tourists that I saw yesterday walking up and down in the 97-degree weather in Hillsburg will now be able to arrive by SMART. Maybe try find parking on a Thursday afternoon in Hillsburg. Good luck. And the other thing is, I think that the SMART pathway, which was originally thought of back in the early 1990s, that pathway parallel to the railroad tracks is almost completed in Marin and in Sonoma County, which is a huge, to me, a huge event. Nothing happens quickly, but if you keep pushing, it happens.
And I'll just add that on top, the bike paths have almost, I think, as many users as do the train boardings. So if you think about the institution of the SMART train being twice its impact in terms of the bike paths, quite a significant commitment now. I will piggyback on that too to say that the mascot study preliminary recommendations have been released. This is of relevance to District 3 as well as to everyone who uses the 101 corridor. And that for no additional cost in either operations or capital investment, the recommendations are expected to deliver 8 to 15% ridership increase on the collective transit services in the Sonoma Marin corridor. The main recommendation is to terminate the existing Golden Gate Transit buses in Novato, not have them come into Sonoma County because we have the SMART train, and then expand SMART service a little bit to pick up the slack left by that gap. Also to augment the Golden Gate Transit service from San Rafael, which is the top hub for the North Bay, into San Francisco. And then make some efficiency tweaks in the San Francisco line so it doesn't make as many stops, so it's more of an express service, as well as expanded last mile, getting people to the SMART train to make the whole North Bay function better. There has not been a review of this since SMART train was launched back in, I think, 2017 or so. So you would expect that there would be some synergies and efficiencies from this kind of planning. I don't know if it will happen in time for my daughter to go to UC San Francisco, where she works remotely now, who they've just called her back to work. But keep watching this space. Oh, there she is now.
Mr. Chair, one thing I might add for Rohnert Park is that we are still anxiously awaiting the arrival of the draft general plan, which was theoretically going to emerge 5 years ago. The City Council keeps on telling me that the draft general plan will emerge this year. The reason I bring this up is that it does have a climate change element in it, which, as I understand it, will have policies that then can be promulgated through the general plan process. And that's been a long time coming.
And you're speaking there of the Rohnert Park City General Plan or the county?
This is the general plan of the city of Rohnert
Right.
Park, and they have added an element, two elements that I'm aware of: environmental justice and climate change. In addition to the housing element has been approved, the circulation, all of the other aspects of a general plan. But because of serious illness on the part of the planning director and whatever else, far be it from me to comment. But it still, I believe, will emerge, and it's something that I think that this committee should be briefed on when it does emerge.
Agreed. Thank you for bringing
Because
that.
clearly Petaluma has gone ahead and executed. Rohnert Park has not yet executed on its climate change proposals, from my point of view.
Right. And I'll just finish by adding some Sonoma city updates as well. We too are working on our city general plan update, and the local economy and circulation elements and the noise element are now out for draft review at the city of Sonoma. The circulation element, of course, being key because of its impact on our biggest climate forcing transportation sector. We also, the city council adopted a 25-26 budget, and there were some increased granular reporting in that line items. They've changed over their accounting system. And there are a few of the existing expenditure categories now that have been exposed, things that we're spending money on in climate action, but that historically we didn't necessarily see them as such. For example, we have the evergreen, 100% evergreen municipal accounts. We also spend, I've forgotten the exact number, I think it's 40 or 50, no, it's $140,000 a year on the Sonoma Marin Saving Water Partnership, which I think all the jurisdictions in the North Bay participate in. One of the findings, though, of our work is that at our commission, the city commission, is that Sonoma's water consumption's actually crept up. We're not getting any real bang for the buck we're spending on that. So we're going to be looking, we're updating the urban water management plan this year, as are most of the jurisdictions in the North Bay, in the county at least. And so we'll be looking to get our return to source of those expenditures, because if we're spending money and then going in the wrong direction, we're doing something wrong. And then the other category, of course, is the fare free transit. We're getting money to Sonoma County Transit to run a local shuttle bus, which has been fairly successful. And Neil, you mentioned the bike lane being completed. One of the ways they balanced our budget this year was by delaying the completion of the Go Sonoma funded bike lane that would have gone to Sasserini School, one of our local schools. The school district is in a bit of disarray. They're trying to figure out which school to close. There's a possibility that school might be the one on the list. They initially closed one school. They're making that decision again. So things are in disarray, I'll just say. What's new, local and state and federal. Any further report outs from jurisdictions? If not, then Christine, I'll invite you forward to talk about our the services for the energy for the residential sector. Item number 5 on our agenda.
This is a problem we have in our office too. We have some chairs for guests. So, okay, that was nice. Thanks.
All up from here.
The climate team here invited me to come in and give you full Oh, thanks. So thanks for having me. The climate team at SCTCA invited me to do a little update for you all on the ever-changing residential program landscape. So this is really focused on energy efficiency programs, and it's going to be like a speed date because there's a lot of information here. So I won't go into real nitty-gritty details for each of your, areas, but I am always available and our team's available for more information. And this slide deck has a lot of links for more information. I printed out some stuff, so I'm going to just go over this and you can certainly ask me questions, but I don't have all that much time today. Oops. So my name's Christine Compton. I'm an energy and sustainability analyst with the energy and sustainability team at the County of Sonoma. We're part of the county administrator's office. We've been a division since 2006, and we've kind of moved around a little bit, but we're still doing the same work, focused on the built environment and providing resources and education for county constituents, residential, business, public buildings. And we work through partnerships. We're funded through partnerships to bring these resources to the county. We're really focused on energy efficiency, water efficiency, and resilience. Some of the services we have, we do site visits and building audits for commercial and public buildings. We don't do residential site visits. We do not have staff for that. We manage the Green Business Certification Program. We hold many sustainability workshops. We maintain a qualified contractor list for the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, which I think is a great resource, whether people are using financing or not. It's over 100 contractors with direct contact information, and you can filter by specialty and local. We offer a financing program, and we offer information, up-to-date information about rebate programs. We work with contractors on specialized trainings, and we offer consulting and project planning, all at no cost. This is our new website. It's a work in progress, but it is updated, and we're working on more. It's kind of under construction, but it's a pretty good resource. And it'll get better. This is our YouTube video library. We've been doing webinars since COVID. So we do some in-person workshops, but everything's pretty much via Zoom. We are extremely popular. We have hundreds of participants in some of our workshops, and then we post them on our YouTube channel. This is a service that I do, the Better Building consultations. I have about 25 years of building science and energy code, green building code experience and energy upgrade experience. So I generally work on, with folks on building upgrades. And then my colleague, Elliot Whitehurst, comes from the solar industry, and he provides solar consultations. These are no cost. They're generally about an hour long, and we've been doing them via Zoom since COVID. And actually, it's a really convenient way to meet with people and also reduce greenhouse gas emissions from this activity. And no cost, really cool. We can provide project plans, and it's turned out to be very valuable to folks who are just don't know where to start. And so it gives people confidence in working with contractors and just how to phase a project and prioritize improvements, and also look at existing conditions, because the existing building stock is so varied here and all over the place. It's varied. So we can talk about what do you have now? Do you have a ducted system? Do you have what exactly are your goals? And we always encourage decarbonization.
It's still residential.
Residential and commercial too. We meet with public buildings, anyone, but mostly it's residential. Yeah. We do bid analyses with folks. So that's like really big translation. So it's not like, oh, this is much more expensive, or I don't think I like this contractor. It's more like, you know, this includes all the electrical, this one doesn't. This one's saying that you have to go pull your own permits. This one includes that service. And so it helps people really understand apples to apples, what bids are kind of providing. And it's really interesting how complex that can be. So I do that a lot with folks. And then we always provide information about financing and incentives. We have the Sonoma County Energy Independence Program, been around since 2010. You might have heard that there's some changes happening with that program. We finance energy efficiency, water efficiency, and resilience improvements like wildfire safety and seismic for both right now for residential and commercial projects. The board just approved, and I have a press release with me that we will be phasing out the residential program. So we will be taking applications through the middle of January 2026, but we will actually be only offering commercial pace after that. And I can pass this around. It's actually as a result of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's regulations that all PACE programs, we had a carve out as a municipal program because we had so many consumer protections built into our program that we were exempt from having people pull credit reports, having to pull credit reports for consumers. And so basically the financing is attached to the property. And if there was equity, if there weren't liens, if the person wasn't in bankruptcy, good to go. This ruling actually made the administrative costs prohibitive for the program. So we're gently easing it out. And I'm disappointed. I love the program, and I think it's been responsible for such great improvement in the building stock in Sonoma County. So it's, you know, I can pass the press release around. Anybody who wants to use Skype, we're still fully supporting it. And please don't hesitate to reach out with questions about that. So now I'm going to just talk about some resources. I don't know if you're aware that we partnered with Sonoma Clean Power, the Sonoma Water and Marin Water Saving Partnership, and the library to develop this toolkit. And folks can check it out at the library. It's super popular. And there are components that people can keep, and there are components that people bring back to the library. And super popular LED light bulbs, weather stripping, and devices where you can measure appliance energy usage, and all free. So it's a 3-week checkout period, and it's available. It's a great resource. It's so hard to serve renters. And so this is probably one of the top resources that really help with renters with the things they can control. And so I'm a big advocate. Got a question?
So my water heater won't turn on, so I should get this, and it has a multimeter?
No, it does not have a multimeter.
Oh,
No, this is much more, this is more about looking at the building envelope and plug load appliances. You might want to talk to like a plumbing contractor.
Alright. This sounds cheaper, but thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
Now I wanted to mention the home energy score. This is a great way for folks to get assessments for their homes. I'm actually a rater, or they don't call us a rater. I'm a HERS rater, but I'm not it's a home energy assessor. And so I'm very familiar with the process. I don't do that for a living, but I did get trained and certified. So basically an assessor is going to come in and measure the home and look at existing conditions and then make recommendations. I'm going to pass around a couple of these, or here's one to pass around. That's an example home energy score. I thought I had another, but we have some on this. So this is a program through the Bay Area Regional Energy Network. And there is an assessment rebate available right now. It's $200. And basically the assessor is going to come in and look at existing conditions, enter all of this information into a DOE tool, and it will generate a report. Bayren's got a supplemental section that's actually devoted to decarbonization and electrification. So recommendations are made, and then an opportunity to kind of raise your score. The idea behind this, and actually this program is going to go statewide, is it is theoretically going to be a great tool for realtors and at time of sale for folks to really understand where their buildings are at as far as energy performance and energy operating costs and the opportunity for improvements. What am I pointing at? So these are just slide, yeah, and you guys are all going to get the slide deck. So these are just screenshots of the components in the home energy score report. Kind of estimates of potential energy savings and your ranking from 1 to 10. And then recommendations. So the next section is, this is our customized Sonoma County part of the report. Basically, describing the steps to electrification. So we have a lot of homes in Sonoma County, I'm sure you're familiar with, just like non-central gas heating equipment or even central heating equipment. And so this is kind of a nice, okay, focus on your building envelope first and reduce the loads, and then you can potentially work on replacing that gas equipment with a heat pump. And the fact that I just went to a conference and the big focus was on affordability and related to electrification. And so what we don't want to do is encourage people to do something that's going to raise their operating costs and make it unaffordable. So we really, really preach this strongly, that is the way you're going to control your load by envelope improvements, and then also manage the load to avoid peak, right? And so those are our that's kind of our Bible. So the Bayren program is launching a new single family program. This is going to come out in a couple weeks. The portal will open. It's called the EASE program, Efficiency and Sustainable Energy Home Program. So this program, the idea was to fill gaps. And when this was being developed, there were a lot more incentives for electrification, decarbonization. So Bayren kind of shifted and really is focusing on the building envelope, indoor air quality, and things that other incentive programs are not focusing on. So the program will cover 80% of the cost for core measures, and up to about, a site assessor comes in, looks at existing conditions and makes recommendations up to about $8,000. And then they kind of go back to the program administrator for anything in excess of that. There are some remediation dollars here. So if they find asbestos or some other conditions that make it difficult to upgrade, there can be money that's actually dedicated to those improvements to make it possible to do the building envelope upgrades. This is an income qualified program. This is these are the income limits for Sonoma County. And so it's a pretty good program. I think the other idea was equity focus, shifting to serve people who don't traditionally take advantage of the rebate programs. We have a lot of folks with lots of means financially that have taken advantage of incentive programs. And so this is a big shift. So it's 120% of AMI is the max. And it's available to renters too. And I'm trying to go quickly because I know you have lots to do here. So it's a very simple process. What we're encouraging folks to do, and we've been accumulating a list before the portal opens, is to reach out to us so we can help them kind of get pre-qualified. And so then when the portal opens, we're ready to roll because money runs out really fast. We've learned that over the years. And if people are interested, they should kind of get on it because things are changing quickly and money is limited. So it's a simple process. Again, we have folks contact us directly, and then we fill a waiting list and then help with entering folks into the portal when the program opens. The other thing, good news, is tech is opening again on July 15th. They just announced this. Again, this is an income qualified program, and these will be actually, there's a market rate incentives and equity incentives. So income qualified for the equity levels. And this will be for heat pumps. So HVAC and heat pump water heaters, which is really good news because we are kind of seeing a diminishing amount of rebates for these types of improvements. The switches on is the place to go, and you'll get these links. Sonoma Clean Power always has some great rebates. I just got an induction range installed and I submitted an application. I got an email from them the day after, and I'm going to pick up my cookware, and I'm sure I'll get my incentive pretty quickly. So they're awesome. And I just have to say, and consistent, they still have really great incentives. So that's part of your toolkit to talk to your peeps. Yeah, yeah. So those are pretty robust incentives.
They do. They did.
I wanted you, I
Have some
wanted to
high
include
performance
this.
requirements for the HVAC, so make sure you notice those because they're higher than other rebates.
So I wanted to include this. This is a really robust incentive program. This is for folks who are either or both. They're installing either their heat pump water heater or a heat pump for space conditioning, and or both. But that's the minimum requirement of the program. You have to do one or the other, and then you're eligible for all these other electrification incentives. And so this is a really good one to pay attention to. I had some, yeah, I'm gonna pass these around so you are just aware. There's, the first page is the base incentive, and the second page are these new bonus incentives that are really exciting. So it really adds up to a lot. If someone's in the position to replace one of those core pieces of equipment, they can really qualify for a lot of extra incentive money. And this is a single family program, ADUs. I only printed out the single family slides, but they also do multifamily. So they have base electrification incentives and then these fantastic bonus incentives. So in addition to the core incentive, if you install, like for the thermal energy storage bonus, you install 100 gallons or more of capacity for your storage tank. And then they have the induction cooking with integrated battery. I don't know if you've seen those, but they're induction ranges that are 110 and they have an internal battery. And so they're designed to operate away from peak, which is beneficial because that's a very peak kind of focused load. And then also they can operate when there's an outage. And the fact that they can operate on 110 is a big deal. I did my induction range. It cost me $1,000 to get that 220 outlet. So this is really fantastic. And so I highly recommend looking at this. That's an extra $3,000 incentive. That's really awesome if you qualify at the core level. So anybody that you talk to that's interested in electrification, this is a wonderful program for PG&E customers. There are other bonus incentives, but I'm so excited about the induction range one. And then the low global warming potential equipment too, there are bonus incentives for that. So that's like a heat pump water heater with the CO2 refrigerant. That's a nice bonus incentive because that equipment is expensive. So it really makes it more viable for people. So this is our contact information. I'm always available for questions, and I really appreciate you giving me the time to talk to you today. I think, this is such a dynamic landscape that if we can make folks aware in the moment, what's happening, what's available, we can really help move this forward as we lose funding in different areas, right? And so all is not lost. This is gonna be okay. And so please reach out. We really try and keep up with the programs and where they're at with their funding levels. So thanks. I have some flyers here. I can leave them. the SCTCA folks will have these here. And again, if anyone's interested in financing, especially like if someone's gonna rush to put in a solar installation before the tax credit goes away, the Skype financing is a great resource for that. And so if you run into anybody who wants to use that program, you might want to let them know that there's a little bit of urgency now. And there's urgency about the tax credit too. Yes?
You know, what's your fixed interest on that now?
Uh,
7 is still 7.
7.99, I think it is now. I don't know why I don't know that off the top of my head. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know if it's on here, and it won't change as the program winds down. That'll stay. So there are other financing mechanisms. The state has Go Green financing, which is another kind of viable option. That is something where folks will have to provide credit information. So Skype has been a great resource for folks who maybe struggle a little bit with that personal credit on the personal credit side, but we have a very extremely low default rate. So it's been a wonderful program. So thanks again for having me. Yeah.
Do we have any questions for Pam before?
Yeah, please.
Is there interest in our communities in having you in to do public presentations on?
We would certainly entertain that. It just depends, right? So I do presentations all the time. We do workshops, but if there's an event that you'd like, where you have a group of people you'd like us to come and talk to, I'd be happy to do that. Just depends.
I'd love to get our building could in touch with you to set up a series of meetings.
Building department, that's interesting, because, yeah, we just met with the Windsor Building Department folks, and they were interested in this type of information. Not every building department is interested in this information, but potentially, yeah, potentially. I mean, they're interested in code compliance, right? And resources. So, yeah, if you have an idea or a group or an event, then we'd be happy to support you. Because that's kind of what we're trying to do, is get the word out. Yeah. Yes?
Do you ever do anything on the scale of like getting what's called covering a parking lot in solar? Like they have it at Kaiser Permanente, the whole parking lot is covered.
So I wonder who would own that?
The Monterey Rec and Parks,
The
public.
Oh, the rec and parks. So with a public agency, unfortunately, they don't pay property taxes generally. And so that's where this money, if you're talking about financing.
Yeah.
That's where the money gets paid through the property tax system. So that's unfortunate because we try and work with nonprofits and we can't really do that for public agencies. Yeah, we are installing a big solar system at the county campus right now. And so we've used, we use the direct pay tax credit. And so we could certainly talk to people about resources that we're aware of for public projects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
June?
Oh, I just wanted the building consultations that you do. Do you do those
Speaking to the
for
mic.
residential? Do you do those for residential, new ADUs? New construction of an ADU for residential?
Do you mean like look at schematic design and?
Yeah, or just advising people on maybe what's out there for somebody embarking on an ADU.
As far as financial resources? or
More
code
for
compliance?
decarbonization planning for it.
Yeah, for new construction, because I do have a background in
Yeah.
code compliance, I've generally focused on understanding the code and also how to do better than the code. So that's kind of where I would be at.
But you would offer like that
Yeah,
consultation for
sure.
free to.
Sure,
someone
and
for
I've
that
looked at
topic.
reviewed plans with folks or their compliance documents to help them I did a lot of that when we were rebuilding. Less new construction now, because the folks usually have an energy consultant that helps them with that, and that's what I did in the private sector. So, yeah, but I would, if you have somebody in mind. Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah, I'm curious about the home energy score and
Yeah.
whether you see that as a worthwhile first step for people, or is it better to bring in somebody like you Because I look at the home energy score and I see it as a fairly generic
Mhm.
tool, but I see that Bayron has done some wraparounds. They've reformatted the report to make it a little more useful. And then it is a gateway to the other services. I'm just
Yeah.
curious if you could comment on the proper way for
Well,
people to get started.
But I wouldn't really go into a home and do an assessment. I don't have the bandwidth to do that, even though people would love that.
Yeah.
I think the home energy score is a great entry level way to understand your existing conditions and opportunities. It can also connect to resources. And one thing I have done with folks is review their report with them and help them understand it. And even though it looks really straightforward to us, we kind of have that, we know this language. And I find that a lot is there's an assumption that the expectation is that people understand these kind of things, and they don't really understand them. So that's what I would suggest. I think it's a great tool.
I'm curious, Pete, what you might have to say about how Petaluma has been doing this at the neighborhood level. Do you have any sort of process? Because I know the other tool is Chris Jones's, what's it called? The Cool Carbon Calculator, which is a much more comprehensive greenhouse gas assessment, looks at food, looks at transportation. And this is very building specific, which is not an insignificant thing. It's a major thing.
Yeah.
But I thought you guys were doing something that was more broad in your neighborhood outreach programs.
I would say Petaluma is doing very little, a lot of room for improvement. The one thing that I can point to is the Cool Petaluma program. It's the block by block
Right.
thing
what I was referring
where there are now 200 blocks that have been organized, and they focus on different aspects. And one of the 5 areas of focus is building energy. That's as far as my knowledge of it extends.
Yeah, so it strikes me that there's, this program is largely driven by Department of Energy, utility systems, and at this point in time has finally become a fuel switching incentive program, whereas for years and years, it was exclusively electric only or gas only, and never the twain shall meet. Now we are explicitly all pulling in the same direction toward decarbonization. But even so, it's very building specific. And in some people's cases, if they're a renter in a small apartment, they may not have the same needs and flexibility as somebody that could reduce their carbon footprint by changing their diet and changing their travel behavior. And so people don't necessarily know where to start on that question. So that's why I'm asking for maybe a more comprehensive approach. And yes, it does go into all the detail in each of those other categories about really where do you draw those lines. But we're struggling with that in the city of Sonoma right now. We definitely plan to piggyback on the Bayren services and programs and the Sonoma Clean Power programs that are available to us. But we're thinking we need to probably do something else as well.
Yeah, and I'm someone who focuses on the built environment. I mean, that's just our organization. That's what we do. And so, but I appreciate the holistic concept there, because there are so many elements to reducing your carbon footprint. And there are lots of tools out there. But I like the idea of that, and maybe that's something that we'll add to our resources for residential projects, is that kind of bringing in those other elements. But Bayren is a public goods funded CPUC kind of directed organization.
Right.
So they have a mission, and this is part of it, right? And so it's very explicit when they, submit a building plan. They're kind of, they have restrained about what they can do.
Very well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Take care.
I can't pick up.
All right, BC, I think you're up next. Beep, beep.
Excellent. Good afternoon, members of the committee, Chair Conlon. My name is BC Caps, Climate Programs Manager here with SCTCA, and wanted to give a brief update on our equitable building electrification action plan that I presented to this committee previously, and I'm giving this presentation to you today and be giving a similar presentation on Monday to our full board as we are wrapping up our administrative draft of the report. So I wanted to give you an update on where we are at. And I think it actually makes a very nice follow-up to Christine's presentation you just saw, because she was talking about some of the nuts and bolts. And this plan is talking about how we put the nuts and bolts together. For today, I wanted to basically just talk briefly about the causes of the problem, the scale of the problem, some of the solutions that we've identified, talk about our key levers for action, and highlight some of the key recommended actions that we are going to propose in the report, talk about our community stakeholder engagement, and then talk about our next steps moving forward. So very briefly, a couple of introductory slides here talking about the causes of the problem. This effort is really focused on building electrification and decarbonization. That really comes down to looking at greenhouse gas emissions that are attributable to our building sector. And so this is a graph from our last greenhouse gas inventory that was completed about 2 years ago and looked at 2022 emissions. And so we can see here that the emissions across the county, this covers all jurisdictions, kind of all uses across all jurisdictions. And this is showing that our top greenhouse gas sector is print transportation with over 57% of the emissions. But then the emissions attributed to the built buildings and the built environment is over 23%. So it's this line item that of looking at the buildings emissions that we're zeroing in on this report with. Then if we dig, kind of take the next step into looking at those building emissions, we'll see that a lot of those are basically coming from the use of fuel sources within our buildings, and are kind of the breakdown very discreetly into emissions attributable to electricity and emissions coming from natural gas. What you can kind of see as this is showing those bars that are on this graph are basically showing the emissions from 1990 down to 2022. You can see a dramatic drop in the emissions that coming in from the building sector, but will notice that almost exclusively those reductions are coming in the blue section of that graph, which is attributable to electricity. And that really shows the progress that's been made over the last decade or more with the incorporation of Sonoma Clean Power and the focus on renewable, local renewable power. It also shows a lot of savings that have come from the Sonoma County Water Agency and their zero carbon water effort that they ran for a number of years that culminated in 2015. And then it also shows, I think, a lot of the impact of the BayREN work of just energy efficiency in general. So you can see building the electricity emissions, we are getting down. The natural gas emissions there are continuing to stay rather stable. And so that's really where a lot of the recommendations in this report are going to be aimed at. And you can see there the red circle that currently within the building sector, over 77% of the greenhouse gas emissions are coming from the natural gas, use of natural gas for heating, mainly for heating, cooking, and for water heating.
JC, can I ask a question about that graph?
Absolutely.
That's just both gross emissions.
Correct.
So there's more people, more houses, et cetera, but so we have become more efficient even in the use of natural gas, et cetera.
Yes, so this is showing, yes, I'm not showing, these are raw kind of aggregate numbers. I have those on a per capita basis as well, and that's showing that, yes, we are becoming more efficient, but our population.
And
Right.
Chris, I just this morning was digging into the building's dashboard that that's available through this same link. And one of the features is that the amount of construction has dropped in the 2020s. So although historically we did so many buildings each decade, Sonoma County number of buildings constructed has gone down. So yes, we're more efficient, but also absolute new buildings is down. which is of course contributing to our affordability crisis. So point taken.
Oops. Let's see. So then moving forward, wanted to talk then about kind of the scale of the issue that we're facing. And within the built environment, again, these are kind of raw, just raw numbers that have been pulled from the Bay the Bay Area Existing Building Study that was completed last year. And so this is basically showing a breakdown that Santa Rosa is the most populous city. This is number of structures or number of buildings. So this isn't population, but I think the population graph looks very similar. You'll see that Santa Rosa has the most structures. The unincorporated portion of the county, which covers a large amount of the entire area, has a huge number, the majority of the structures in the county. And really the take-home number that I'm zeroing in on at this point is that we're looking at over 229,000 buildings within the county. Many of those that have had improvements of some sort made. They may not all of these structures need to have top to bottom retrofits done, but this really kind of shows the order of magnitude. We're talking about approximately 230,000 buildings. Within that number of 230,000 buildings, this graph shows the split between residential and commercial, showing that nearly 92% of those buildings counts are within residential, and there's a much smaller proportion of commercial buildings. My understanding is that the commercial buildings tend to be a little bit higher usage of electricity, mainly because they're office buildings or have multiple tenants. Multiple business tenants, commercial tenants, but still when we're looking at the number of pieces of equipment that need to be upgraded, that's kind of looking at that 210,000 residential structures throughout the county, making up over 90% of our building stock. And all of these numbers, I am not including them here today, but all of these numbers and values are broken down at a kind of a per jurisdiction level, so that we can zero in and kind of look at for each city throughout the county, and for each district supervisory district throughout the county, kind of what's the breakdown of that commercial versus residential. So then wanted to talk a little bit about some of the solutions that we are looking to propose. And many of these really dovetail very clearly with the programs that Christine Condon was just speaking about. We're talking about things like the need to upgrade furnaces to heat pump heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems. Upgrading hot water heaters to using heat pump water heating technology. Upgrading induction cooktops and electric ovens and getting rid of our natural gas cooking equipment. Upgrading pools and spas to use heat pump pool heaters. Installing solar PV systems with battery storage backup systems. All of this may be predicated on needing to install or upgrade electrical panels. And if panels kind of are restricted and cannot be upgraded, there's kind of some strategies around called the watt diet that can be easily implemented. The ability to basically run more power, have more power uses available that you use in your house than your panel actually has capacity for, using some switching equipment. There's the integration, purchase of electrical vehicles and the integration of those using the vehicle to home charging. Also then at the same time that we're making these kind of technological building upgrades, that is a perfect time to go in and just do base energy efficiency improvements, air sealing, attic and wall insulation, duct repair, windows and doors, cool roofs, really kind of thinking about that whole building retrofit approach. And then the last bullet point I have on here is talking about, even though it's not directly related to energy efficiency or decarbonization or natural gas use, a number of the programs and the financing available and a lot of the services really dovetail nicely with wildfire hardening and seismic safety improvements. If you're basically pulling apart major portions of your house and have kind of a lot of the portions kind of deconstructed, it's a perfect time to do some of these other strengthening options as well. So then I wanted to move to our kind of list, our set of recommended actions. And I believe this next graph or this next table is something that was presented to the committee at our last meeting. And so you've probably seen before. So we have taken our policy actions that we're proposing and have grouped them into 5 key priority areas. First is policy support. Second, community education. Third is energy equity. Fourth is contractor workforce. And the fifth are the actual building upgrades. And so for each of these priority areas, we've developed a strategic vision statement. We're basically looking at kind of what we would hope for as if we were to meet our long-term kind of goals. So I won't take the time to read those out individually, but those are included in the packet, and you'll see those throughout the entire report. So this graphic is a little bit small on the screen, but what this is really then within each of those 5 priority areas, which are listed at the top there in the top line of the hex diagram. We kind of have the priority area, we have the vision, and then below each of those, and I've done it with some color coding, there are specific actions that are being proposed within each of the priority sections, the priority areas. The final report will include detailed information on each of these, and I believe I may have presented at a deeper level at our last meeting on a handful of these and gotten some very specific feedback on some of these items. My presentation today is kind of a little bit more of a high-level overview, so I'm not going to dig into the details of these, but I did want to talk a little bit about how we are going to prioritize taking this action plan from a list of recommended actions to actually implementing. And given the constraints, kind of funding and kind of resource constraints that the organization has with work on climate change, we can't do it all at once. And so we're kind of figuring out how do we face what are our core organizational strengths that we have here that we can lead, and what do we have capacity for in the short term, and where should we start that work? So then these next slides, wanted to step through really quick, is going to highlight several of these items within each of the focus areas. So within the realm of policy support, we really feel that SCTCA, that our area where we're going to focus best is really focusing on action 1 and action 2 on legislative and policy efforts and long-term program funding. There's then other work that needs to be done on permits, on energy reach codes, and on home energy evaluations. The home energy evaluations is tied in with the BayREN, the home energy score that Chris was just presenting about a few minutes ago. But really in the short term, we're going to focus on the legislative and policy efforts and the long-term program funding. Those are kind of our key strengths, and I think that's where we're going to want to immediately get started. And on some of these, it's not necessarily a matter of getting started, it's a matter of continuing the work that we're doing and kind of bolstering it and just giving it some additional attention. Moving towards community education, a lot of this work is going to be focused around education and outreach partnerships at the core, at the foundational level. And again, that's kind of where we see ourselves fitting in and taking the first steps over the upcoming months, is really focusing on the education and outreach partnerships that will then later tier into working on an online resource library and developing a more fully featured community outreach strategy. But again, our strength here is really on building partnerships, and so the focus will be there. Thinking about energy equity, oops, let me go back one, and energy equity, very similar. This is going to be looking at a number of issues around renters, low-income households, energy equity priority communities, and our also, equity priority services and renter protection programs. Again, our strength here in the short term is really thinking about the community-based partnerships that need to be formed to move to kind of bring this topic of energy equity kind of squarely into the center of kind of the work that on building electrification. Then with thinking about contractor workforce, this is a huge topic. We've talked about it extensively here. This is a topic though that we've identified although it is critically important, we here, the staff here at SCTCA are maybe not the best ones to lead that effort. We're not connected directly with the contractors. We're not kind of on the ground level with a lot of that work. And so really the key, our key effort in this area, we've identified it as priority, but our focus is going to be really identifying those appropriate lead agencies. Is it the county's energy and sustainability team? Is it North Coast, or is it North Coast? Is it any of the other organizations? There are a number of other organizations around kind of, so I think our role is going to hopefully be to identify those key partners, kind of get that effort started, but really to kind of let that progress on its own. And then that once the partnerships are formed, that really will lead into workforce training programs and hopefully some vocational programs at the high school and junior college level. Moving then into the building upgrade sector. So this is an area where a number of these items are actually, we've identified these as priorities, and we have existing funding through the BayREN programs, through the Bay Area Regional Energy Network. There are existing programs that focus on single-family residential, multifamily residential, municipal and public buildings, and non-residential commercial upgrades. So BayREN has those programs. There's a lot of work by Sonoma Clean Power and others. And so our work will be, in the initial part, will really be focusing on kind of continuing to promote and move that work forward, kind of using the existing resources. The one area within this realm that we do see ourselves really focusing in on is thinking about the innovative program design and evaluation. It's all of the great, amazing things that could be done if there's more funding available. And so I think in my mind, this Action 20 ties in very directly with Action 2, which I presented earlier on long-term program funding. We're thinking about how do we get more funding to do this work? And if there's more funding available, what are the innovative and new programs that could be designed and introduced here in Sonoma County to move this forward? So that is kind of that is an overview of the 5 priority areas, the 20 actions that we've identified, and kind of where SCTCA sees our kind of focus. In the short term, they're on Action 1, Action 2, 6, 9, and 20. And again, trying to make it reasonable or manageable for us thinking about taking those next steps without getting completely bogged down on trying to do all of it all at once.
Great, BC. Thank you very much.
Great.
Do we have any questions or comments for BC? Shirley?
Thank you. I'd like to give some input about the contractors. Sonoma State just cut their construction management certificate, which is really Brian Vanner was the chair of that. And what it does is it takes a lot of our workers and puts them in program management positions. They get educated. And it would have been great to have them included in our, so whenever they bring that program back, I will point Brian towards you, maybe. Okay.
Very good, thank you.
And that hasn't been brought back from the ashes after?
I haven't seen anything.
Because we should, I would prioritize that as a
No.
policy, a lobbying effort of our CPA to get that workforce program funded under the windfall that Mike McGuire made possible.
Thank you.
And also directly related to that, SRJC Petaluma campus has a workforce development program. And at Petaluma High School, there's a construction tech program. I don't know how many other high schools in the county have vocational technical training, but that's another area. And as I think about the current state of our world and the future that high school kids are looking forward to, AI, I think, is diminishing possibilities for a lot of them. We might offer trades as a viable alternative. One other thing that I wanted to say, that it comes to mind in your presentation and in Christine's as well. As an architect, having looked deeply at building energy performance, one of the things that often just falls out of the bottom of these conversations is the impact of occupant behavior, how people operate the building, which we leave out when we look at the energy characteristics of a building because it's such a big variable, but we forget to add it back in at the end of. So I can say a lot more about that, but it's obviously something that can't be controlled, but it's worth including in all the discussions.
Very good point.
Neil?
So great to see all that, but I'm reminded of the number of times I sit in Katati's meeting, listening to the staff list out all the cost of that they're charging for the services. And what comes up for me is I'm just wondering, I mean, this is the top level down, but is there anything happening from the bottom level up where there's efficiencies can be done when something else is happening? How do I actually phrase that? So I've seen local Charles Street housing redo, sorry, it's an East Katati housing there run by one of the housing, redid all the pavements inside, and there was no ducting went in there for electric vehicles. So I'm just wondering, is there any way of referencing and maybe giving credit for in the, I know building codes are a discussion or being clamped down on, but some way of saying, hey, if you've got something that you're doing, have you thought of adding in 2 extra 40 amp lines or an extra 40 amp line while you're touching the box, while you're touching the electric box and stuff? Because I mean, I had a gas heater that went out. We couldn't put in, this was on a rental, and we couldn't put in the upgraded heat pump. There wasn't enough space. And looking at an electric heater was also running in a line. So we did an efficient pump, but then it also needed an electrician to come in, and that was $400. So how to do everything in common, I think, how to do much more stuff when you're doing something.
Sure.
I did that with my solar panels. I said to the guy, can we put in an electric vehicle socket or, at the same time? And that was very easy to do. So I don't know if there's a way of raising that. I mean, it has to go back to the property owner for them to consider, but the builders, maybe they can have a leaflet where they can say, have you considered this to the property owner?
Very good point.
I don't know. Thank you.
So BC, I'll just say that thank you for all the work that's obviously gone into this. I've watched the evolution of this document and this plan, and it's gotten more realistic, I think. It's not as ambitious perhaps as we might like it to be, but that's just the reality. And I think your focus on legislative and policy efforts are particularly important now that we are having our legs cut out from underneath us, both at the national and at the state level, frankly. We've seen the PUC create the affordability problem in electrification, and we've seen now the state legislature and the governor pull out the leg under the table. The one thing that was really working in all climate was the new construction codes being increased every 3 years. And that has now been a moratorium placed on that as well. So we really are going to have to come back to the local and regional level for the next several years. And we're going to need to pull up our own bootstraps, I think. So that's where this helps us. Yes, there are some funds available, but we're going to have to be more strategic and smart about how we use what resources we have within our own community. So I'll close this and let Tanya close us out with the yeah.
Good afternoon. I think we're on to the RCPA
Please.
activities report.
Yes, please.
So I don't have any major updates other than to share that we have kicked off the equitable EV charging plan project. We had the first meeting of the stakeholder advisory group last week. And so that project is getting started, which is great. And I think Anna may have a brief Bay Run update, but she's online. So
great.
turn to Anna.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Well, happy Friday. I just have a few brief updates to share for Bayren. And also thank you, Christine, who I work very closely with from the Energy and Sustainability team for her presentation today. Just a little recap from last month. So I did check in with the majority of the cities, excluding Sebastopol and Cloverdale, just to check in with their climate and sustainability staff to provide an overview, more of a refresher on our Bayren programs, and identify some opportunities where we could partner with the cities in a way that aligns with their priorities going into the late summer and fall. So it's nice to chat and check in and see some opportunities to align both for municipal upgrades as well as identifying some opportunities to better engage with the community. And I can present on that at a later CAAC meeting. I also shared some jurisdiction-specific Bayren data with staff, which I'll also be reporting out on to you all at a following meeting. And as Christine mentioned, our Ease Home program, so our new single-family program for Bayren, is going to be launching July 21st. And so that means that the scheduling portal will be open for Sonoma residents. And if you have more questions on that, feel free to follow up with myself or the Energy and Sustainability team, but we're really looking forward to that program launching. And then one thing I believe Pete mentioned, and just to echo the importance of behavior change, especially when it comes to the built environment, something I want to call out is our Bay Area Multifamily Building Enhancement Program, or BAMBI program, is going to be launching a new educational initiative to connect with renters and tenants of multifamily buildings to stress the importance of behavior when you do have these upgrades done. So we will be reaching out to some properties going into late summer and really focusing on that into the fall. And I think that wraps it up for my very brief updates for today.
Great. Thank you, Anna. I'm curious, we see the new materials, the new Bayren program materials that were available to us here in the building today. Are those is that literature going to be available? How are you going to make that literature available to those of us who are at the jurisdictions? Do we need to request them from you, or will you be dropping them off with your contacts at the individual cities?
I will be dropping them off to the cities that have requested the printed materials. I've passed on PDF versions to all of the cities for each of our different programs for some of the outreach collateral. But it just depends. Some cities don't want a bunch of printed materials, so we're just
Understood.
yeah.
There's others that may and may see their participation correlated therewith. Any questions for Anna? I noticed in the report that the refrigeration replacement program is also coming online. Is there a brochure for that?
There is not a brochure available for that. We are doing some pretty targeted outreach and marketing for that program because it is in its pilot phase. And so only the North Bay counties, being Sonoma, Marin, and Napa, are participating in that pilot phase. And we are targeting some smaller businesses in the food sector and floral sector for that. So we're going by the specific NEECS codes.
I'll shoot you an email with two in my Sonoma Valley area that I think might be good targets.
That would be wonderful. We would be happy to follow up.
And I also noticed that the Water Upgrade Saves program, Cloverdale's terminated, but I think you're engaged in conversations with Santa Rosa. Is that accurate? And could you elaborate?
Yeah, so we're actually, and the third point, I think, in the report is that we've been having conversations with the Bayren program director and the coordinating circle about the future of the program. And so there is an important meeting coming up week after next where the coordinating circle, which is kind of the governing group for Bayren, will be looking at water upgrade save and, you know, its results to date and whether or not it makes sense to continue with the program as is or potentially consider a redesign. So there are likely changes coming up with water upgrade save. So
Understood. So thank you for the
yeah,
update on that.
thank you for asking.
All right. Do we have any further questions for either of our very, very engaged staff members? All right. Well, with that, our next meeting will be on the 12th of September. And thank you all for your attendance.
Thank
Oh,
you.
and attention today. Bye.